Okay. Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for tuning into Tough Love Giggles. And this is the moment that you've all been waiting for. And I hope my friend Darius is actually up and listening because I'm Amy. I cannot afford to miss this interview. And Darius, if you're actually up, please do let me know. So, right about now, we're actually joined by the author of the newly released book. Okay, I don't want to say much because that's the reason why we have him here, and we're gonna get to know more about him as well as the book and his journey and what inspired him to write the book and all that jazz. And if you have any questions, please feel free to chime in. And you already heard the intro, Baba. Hey, Changamire Dombo. And I can't even do the voice. But anyway, hey Tinashe, how's it going, buddy?
Good morning, Amy. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Oh my
It
gosh, that was
is
like my guy.
7 a.m. in the morning, and you
Yes,
guys are like all hyped up. It feels like a Friday by you guys,
it is still a
eh?
Friday, so we get to party at least.
You have to go for it. I had my coffee. I'm ready to go. And thanks to everybody
Yay!
that's joining.
Yay! Thank you so
But I'll be
much.
taking
And
the first.
please do
Oh
thank
yeah.
your wife and your baby for us. Good to yo. This is the moment just for an hour, having you for an hour here. We thank them.
hmm Yeah, no, I have to pay for it because you guys took that hour, so I'll be paying for that hour. But yeah, I'll definitely send the thanks. Maybe I'll get a discount for it.
Hey, why not? No, that is so awesome. So let's just get into our interview. And to start off, would you like to just bring our listeners up to speed with your upbringing, a little bit about your background? Yeah, exactly. A little bit about your background. Yeah. Yeah, where? Yeah,
So
where?
yeah, that's like the toughest question you can ask anybody, especially
All
a writer,
right.
because like when I finished the book and I had to write the most difficult part of the book, which is like a one-page biography of myself, I struggled
Right.
so badly because where do you start? Like it's been a whole 30 years of life, and you need to start somewhere. Also in
Exactly.
line with what inspired you to write the book. So, but anyway, my name is Philip Tinashe Gwatidzo. I am a lot of things, but for this interview, I'm the author of Changamire Dombo. Born and raised in Zimbabwe, Harare. And yeah, I grew up in the avenues, went to David Livingstone Primary School. If there's anybody from David Livingstone, shout out to you guys.
Oh, thank you so
Um,
much. We appreciate you too.
and so that happens to be you as well,
Of course.
David Livingstone,
That's a
buddy.
given.
And went to Goramonti High School. Did my A level at Mutoko High School. Then fast forward, went to Cape Town for varsity, studied hospitality, and yeah, here I am. I'm a father of a 2-year-old girl. It's so vague and too much to give. You have to guide me. You have to direct me exactly where you want.
Well, I could say that was actually good enough. You did a good job, really. Like from a
Whew.
baby Tinashe to primary school, high school, uni, and family. I think that was good. I think
Yeah.
that was good.
Thank you very much.
Right. And then even the fact that you actually mentioned that you studied hospitality, which is part of our questions, of course. All right.
I knew it was
Hospitality,
coming.
author.
Mhm.
Anyway, thank you so much for the introduction, though. So, my second question was going to be, oh, what's your field of study? Well,
Mhm.
done deal. So tell us about your your years in your corporate world, in the corporate world, in the hospitality world,
In the
in
corporate
the
world.
our 18 years of life.
So yeah, that was fun. That was really fun because
Mhm,
well, having studied hospitality,
mhm,
I sort of became a hospitality protege
mhm,
because I became the youngest general manager in the industry in
mhm,
South Africa when I was 22, which was a
mhm,
hectic challenge, but I think it was an important moment in my life because it
mhm,
kind of narrowed down for me quite early what
mhm.
I would like to do and what I don't want to do. So yeah, I got thrown into the deep end, worked with some of the best hotels, worked for Well Coast Hotel in Hermanas, the Marine Hotel, which is one of the only three Rolencia two hotels in the continent. And yeah, it's 5 stars, a lot of pressure, it's a lot of international clients, very demanding, very up to the T with what they want. But in the process, the reason why I mentioned this part of the journey was it also inspired my book in many ways. I worked for the Glen Boutique Hotel, fantastic hotel. They also in Cape Town. Also did slides a bit of time in Germany, which is leading to how I ended up in Germany. But for a good 10 to 11 years, I worked in hospitality, also consulting, and I met a lot of people. I met a lot of people. I was also doing a lot of traveling as well in the time. And you meet a lot of cultures, you meet a lot of different personalities and backgrounds. And in the process, I learned how proud people were of their backgrounds, of their culture, of who
And
they
pause
were.
right
And
there. And
okay,
pause right there. And
I'll take
pause
it away.
right there. I like that. I didn't even see that one coming, which brings me to a question to say, talk about one thing that's really important that you mentioned right now, because people are so proud about their culture, where they come from. And now let's be real. This is tough love.
And
We're on tough love right now. Tough love giggles. Talk about Zimbabwe though. Let's talk
then the
about
spin part.
Zimbabwe being proud of where they come from though, because people are beginning to become proud of being Zimbabwean, but
And I think it's the important turn that we needed, because I don't blame Zimbabweans that we're not particularly proud, because we were given a lot of reasons to not be proud. There was a lot of biased media, a lot of bad publicity. So there was a lot of reasons why people would want to shun themselves and not want to be Zimbabwean. But I don't mean Zimbabwe alone. I'm talking of Africa as a continent. I'm talking of any melanated person. We've in history been given so many reasons not to be proud of ourselves. But I think what history has then taught us in that time is the basis of who we are, for us to gain the respect we need, for us to be recognized for our contribution, is it starts with our pride in who we are, our uniqueness. We need to embrace our uniqueness. And that's where the loop that motivated me to write my book came from, because everybody I was meeting was giving me such profound history of who they were. I'm talking different races, be it Asia, Arabic, Europeans, Americans. I mean, even people that had a bad patch of history. I'm talking of, Germans, Italians. They had bad documented history. They still had so much pride in their history. And I figured we are not as proud as the rest of the world about who we are. That is why it is so easy for us to celebrate with the world about their history, but we can easily ignore ours. And we do have a beautiful history. I mean, if you get a moment or a chance to read the book, you realize we've got so much things to be proud of. We should be a proud people. And I thought it was important. And with having a daughter now, my daughter is half German, half Zimbabwean, but we live in Germany. So we especially in Germany, you barely speak any English, because everybody does not speak the language or doesn't want to. You don't have a reason to. So raising a daughter in such a culture
So how
made
do you
me
say,
realize,
hi, my name is Tinashe in German?
Moin, hallo, ich bin Tinashe. It's very similar, but yeah, it's a whole process also learning another language.
I can imagine. Anyway, sorry to cut you off. You're still saying.
No, it's oh good. So yeah, I think motivation. You'll get to that question, I know, but I'll kind of short answer it now. The motivation towards it was like thinking about my daughter and all the other kids that would need to get this knowledge imparted on them or share the history with them. And there wasn't so much, especially for diasporans, there wasn't so much written documentation in an entertaining way that you could give to the kids so they can have pride in who they are. And I really looked, I mean, if you remember, we growing up chatting in my book on Sekuro Nagudo, and they tried to, throw some deep knowledge in you, but entertain you in the same way. And growing up now, I look at Vikings, Game of Thrones. It's all
Mhm.
history that is remodeled and documented for
Mhm.
people to be entertained, but also not to forget the history.
Mhm.
So, I mean, if you ask me about what happened in my history lesson on 2002 about um, the English or the Scandinavians, I don't remember. But if you ask me now, because I watched Vikings, I'll be like, oh yeah, no, this part of information
Mm.
happened, and it's not all a lot of fun to talk about because they put it in such an entertaining way. And yeah, that's how I ended up capturing Changamire Dombo and bringing it back to the world in an entertaining way where people would read it, laugh, feel emotional, but also get reattached to their history. Um, yeah, I think I won't answer too much because I've got more to say, but I'll let you guide me with your questions.
No, actually, you help me by doing that. You help me by doing that because this is your
But if I
moment, bruv. This is your moment. But with that being said, though, with that being said, I forgot my question that I wanted to ask. It wasn't even here, but because of what you said. Oh
see,
yeah.
because I'm talking too
So
much,
what I
sorry.
wanted to ask though was, so does this mean that you loved history? Because I didn't like history, to be honest, but I'm just learning my
See, that's
history
the
now.
thing. That's the thing. It is so weird because I
Mhm.
was not I didn't like the part of studying history, but I
Mhm.
enjoyed talking about it. I really enjoyed
Mm.
my way of study during I only did history until my O levels and then I
Mhm.
switched to commercials, ending up in the corporate world, of course.
Yeah.
Um Spoken history. We used to sit down as a group and start discussing what happened in World War II, what happened in the second, and it was more fun for me to talk about it.
Mhm.
The writing part, I was not engaged in history to a point of like I want to be a historian, I want to learn this, I want to know this. But this part of documenting history was almost like a calling. Um,
Mhm.
I always planned to write a book at some point, but I'm like a master procrastinator. I can procrastinate for days. I'm like, yeah,
Procrastination is the enemy of progress.
I know you learn that you speak that every day, but until that point, I realized, okay, so yeah, the George Floyd moment that was like the
Mm.
spark. It was like, well, hold on, you keep on talking, and I mean, being in a foreign land and having stayed in a couple of places where I had to re-educate some people that were acquaintances and became friends because they didn't know enough or much about us. All they had was bad publicity and bad media, so they kind of perceived us in a certain light. So I found myself explaining ourselves for who we are too often. And then the George Floyd incident happened, and I was so upset because it was another thing that had happened again at a time when things like that should not be happening anymore. So it
Right?
got me asking
Right?
questions. It's like in 2021, guys. How are we still in this space where you can kneel on someone's neck for 8 minutes while there's
Mm.
people around you and
Mm.
nobody is intervening, nobody is taking, nobody is putting themselves on the line to stop this from happening. And
Oh,
this was
because you'll be the next on in line, right?
exactly, but that's the whole
Right.
point because it was like we are such a frightened race
Mm.
in that aspect. I see it when I speak to people
But then they did a good
from
job of
southern.
doing that, right? And look at it, it's
It's
authority as well.
it's 400 years of colonialization. There's
Yeah.
an image that has been painted. There's a box you've been put in. And
Mm.
now, if you leave the box, you feel threatened, you feel alone. That is why nobody would take the step out of that box. Because if what had happened to George Floyd had happened to any other race, it
Mm.
would have been stopped. I find this out when you have an altercation with other races,
Mm.
people are quick to intervene. People are quick to stop it until you have an altercation with a person of a melanated person. People are just like looking from a distance because they don't
Mm.
know: do we engage? Do we not engage? Are we not going to be
Mm.
considered trouble causes? It's it's
Mm.
it's fear that has been impacted in people for a very long time. That is
Mm.
also almost become a part of our image, and
Mm.
that is what I was getting at to my to say. I don't want to answer your question too quickly. Was I thought to myself the reason why we have fit into this box so well as I mean, firstly, we've been brainwashed very good to believe that we are not as worthy or as equal,
Mm.
but it's because we also adopted
Mm.
um, a culture. We live in an adopted culture. I think I speak for a lot of Black people when I say this, whether you realize it or you don't. We live in an adopted culture. That is why when we converse by ourselves on our own continent, we speak in English, because this is what was imparted on us. I mean, we've got Swahili, beautiful language, the most widely spoken language in the continent, could easily be our language of communication, our business language. But even in my own country, as an example, our business language is English. But we've got two beautiful languages. We've got Shona and Ndebele. They could be main languages. We could use them to converse, because the Germans, they will not convert it for you.
Ever.
If you want something that is in English, you will have to get your own translation. You will get it done, but everything done and produced here will be in their language. And if you want to fit in, if you want to live in their society, you have to learn their language. And they are the most productive economy in the whole of Europe. And they don't speak a word of English.
Wow.
Where you come from, if you don't speak English, don't say, "Oh, you're funny. You say it wrong. Are you crazy?"
By the way, oh, your accent, my way, Jango. Excuse me? Like right now, I live in a country where diversity is huge, yo. I came here thinking, oh yeah, I can speak English and all Nigerians, and it's a big thing. And then lots of people can't even speak English, right? And I'm like, really? Why am I bothering myself? And it's funny, even when I came here, I was like, you know what? With settling down, I want my own Zimbabwean, right? Because I don't want to speak English for the rest of my life. And people would laugh at me. Kuti, Amanda, why would you say that? Like, you can speak English. I'm like, but Inini, I am fully Shona. Half Shona, half Ndebele. I am fully Zimbabwean. And I'm proud Zimbabwean, because I want my kids to learn my culture. Even if they're going to be born here, I want them to know and learn my culture, right? But then it's difficult for people. But people are catching up now. I've been here 10 years, and people are catching up, are like, oh my gosh, I want to.
It's a wave. I think it's a generational wave, because when I look at the generation before ours, like there's kids that are coming out now. I listen to the content in the new music that's coming out. I listen to the eggs, and I must say I'm quite proud to know. Talking to kids like Holy Ten and his music and his sense of direction with what he's talking about. He's addressing issues that we've been shunning from within our generation. He's talking about protecting the girl child in music, and it's being widely accepted. It's being tolerated. Where if you were saying about that back in the day, people would be just like, get away. We don't want to hear this songs about funny issues, we want to hear this hot gossip. We don't want to hear about this. Protect the girl child.
And talk about back in the day when kungoti kushika form 4 wakufana rorwa. You know what I mean? Like you can't go. You can't go to university, but it's not a big deal.
It was not your ideal goal. Like your ideal goal was to get married, which is great. If you want to get married, if it's a thing you want to do, okay. But you also need to embrace fully who you are as a person before you engage another person. So it's important to notice. I'm glad people are starting to hit the wave, and I think we've been treated in a way that is forcing. Time is, you can't fight against time. When things happen, people will evolve, and this evolution is a necessary evolution for us to start recognizing and appreciating ourselves for who we are, so we can be appreciated by the world. As long as we're living in this adopted mentality, we can't be. You'll never be anything else but the best version of Amy. That is who you meant to be. That is what you will thrive at. You could sing. You could try to sing like Beyonce, and you could get almost there. But you'll always be second best to Beyonce, because Beyonce is Beyonce. So,
I always give an example of when I read about Oprah's life, right? I have this moment. I know a whole lot of people are like, oh yeah, Amanda, you're our next Oprah. And to me, at first, it used to be, I'm gonna be the next Oprah. You know what I mean? It used to be that, until I was like, no. Oprah is herself. And Oprah even tried to copy Barbara Walters. It didn't work until she had to get into herself and say, I am Oprah. Who am I as Oprah? Because I cannot be like Barbara Walters. And even in acting, they tell you, Guti, don't try and be Denzel Washington. Don't try and be Viola Davis, because we're looking for something different. We're looking for a different Tinashe. We're looking for a different Amanda.
And it's around us the whole time. I mean, if you look at it, it's around us the whole time. We just have this blinders. I mean, for many reasons, but colonial reasons also play a huge part. We've got so many blinders that stop us or that make us afraid to embrace who we really are, because
Mm-hmm.
it's our uniqueness that is, we are a unique people,
Mm-hmm.
and we are a beautiful people. And
Mm-hmm.
when I say this, I talk of every person that is melanated. We are different in all our ways, but when the world looks at us, when the person who kneeled on George Floyd's knee would not have stopped kneeling on your knee because you're not American. You are a melanated person and you're perceived in a certain way. You are a dangerous person, you're a violent person.
Mm-hmm.
So as melanated people, that's the breach I wanted to get to say I wanted to write a book inspired by my history, but that
Mm-hmm.
also breached borders. That also a
Mm-hmm.
person who from Nigeria picked up this book and they feel associated with, because when
Mm-hmm.
they read it, they see themselves in that story. They get power, they get
Mm-hmm.
pride, and in that being said, we are seen as one, but we
Mm-hmm.
constantly divide ourselves by ourselves. So like, okay, so you're from the east, yeah, I'll let you handle your business. But that's not the case, because the world looks at it as one, and it's not a bad thing. It's actually something to be proud of, because
Mm-hmm.
with Africans and melanated people united and embracing who they fully are, then they would not be treated the way they treated in the world.
Mm-hmm.
They would be respected for their contribution, because we would respect ourselves to see what we contribute and what we bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, but without writing a book that is too serious, that is telling people how to behave, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
no, nobody wants to be told what to do in this modern day. People want to get inspired. People want to get excited. So move away from the non-fictional storytelling of dictating what history was like, and entertain people with the truth. But you know, in order not to argue with historians, let's call it fiction for fun's sake.
Right.
Let's have fun with it. let's not let's not get ourselves in that argument, because you're gonna spend a lot of time explaining why your history is not aligned with what they captured, which is not important. What's important is we have to be proud. We have to be proud and happy of who we are, and you know, look back at who we were when we were most successful, and
Okay.
embrace that energy. Okay,
Right.
mic drop. I'll drop it right there.
With that being said, though, getting into the book, let's get to
Mhm.
Changamire Dombo. Right now, we have listeners who may have grown up in the Western world, have no idea who Changamire Dombo was, right?
Mhm.
Why would you write about to me? It was so exciting to say, my Jango, oh my gosh, you wrote about my heritage and whatnot. And we're soft.
Yes,
Kwandinonyatso, me being a Moyo
on
and
the
being the Changamire Dombo being the queen of Varoji and stuff like that, me being a Mroji and stuff like
yeah,
that, right? So what
yeah.
made you think of Changamire Dombo of all the people and then decide, okay, I'm going to play around with this person, with this king, and make it so interesting and fictional like that?
Okay, so yeah, it's like I found it important to
Mm-hmm.
take Changamire Dombo himself as my first challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Reason being, um, he's not well documented. I believe he's not well documented in the history that we learned in school.
Mm-hmm.
But his significance, though, his
Mm-hmm.
significance was he was a person that was considered unorthodox, a
Mm-hmm.
person that was considered um, to be not what a traditional king would be like.
Mm-hmm.
But the amount of success he achieved at the time he was king, and not only from an economic perspective,
Mm-hmm.
from defending the territory's perspective, because Changamire
Mm-hmm.
Dombo then went at a time when where our documented history states we were primitive, we did not know what to do with ourselves, and he took an army and he defeated a very strong Portuguese army that had come to raid. So it's like, hold on, guys. If we were so primitive, how did we have the technique and the tactics to defeat a whole Portuguese army that was respected, well respected across Europe, because at that time they were quite a big thing. So
Mm-hmm.
it was like, this happened, guys. This guy back in the 1600s, built something so solid that he defeated a very fierce army, and that people never came back again. They were so afraid to
Mm-hmm.
enter this territory. And in the period, he also brought the economy of the whole area, an empire, not just a kingdom, a whole
Mm-hmm.
empire, to a point where the indigenous people were so successful.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was no poverty in Changamire Dombo's empire. there was no thieves, there was no crime. The way he managed to achieve this, and this is back in the 1600s. This is a melanated man in the 1600s that has garnered so much respect that even the book quoted fierce armies decided, you know what, we're going to end before the Limpopo River to avoid trouble. We're going to end before the Zambezi to avoid trouble. We don't want to be dealing with this man. You know, we'll go to the trade center and get out. But we don't want war with this guy. And this is the supposedly primitive people. It's like, no, this guy is so valid when you're looking at a point of power. There's no better place to look for a point of power as a melanated person and a point of pride in who we are than realizing that no, we're not just primitive, we were not just nobodies. No, there was a leader that came and took us to that elevated level where we could be self-sufficient, self-actualization of a Black person. I think that was the height of when it would have been achieved in the southern part of Africa, because every other leader we speak about, they did so many great things, but it all ended up in defeat. Now, why I chose not Buyanehanda or Chaminuka was because their stories were great, but they ended up in defeat. And when you learn a story that begins with defeat, you're fighting a subconscious battle, because you're already told that you were defeated, you lost, so we were better. And today we talk about equality. How can you fight for equality if you're not considered to be on the same level, if you're not considered to be contributing the same from a mental perspective, from an economic perspective? We are not considered in that bubble. But that's the bubble that I was trying to break, to say, guys, if someone of our heritage line, of our same color of the skin, could achieve so much back then to bring an empire, a number of kingdoms together and work together and produce together and have so much respect across the world back in the 1600s, then we definitely can do that at this time that we're living in. We just need to start believing in ourselves, and that's where it starts. We need to have the self-pride and the self-belief, and this is what brought Changamire Dombo into play, but also because nobody really knew or respected his history, because it was not well documented. That's why I picked him, because I believe the light needed to shine on this guy, because he's got the potential to inspire Black people across the world, no matter where you are, to wake up one day and feel good about yourself. Be like, yeah,
good it is. You know, the one thing I was actually proud of, the reason why you even wrote that book is, it's funny how we have Americans write about us instead of us writing about us. Like, they don't,
everybody else.
You know what I mean? Like, why can't we write our own history? Because look at how they've done Mugabe, the movie. What do you know, you don't even have enough information for you to even put Mugabe in the movie. You need a Zimbabwean to put Mugabe. You know what I mean? And you writing Changamire Dombo, was like, God, I love this. And we could turn this into a script, and we could look at what they did on Black Panther. They're trying to put Africa in there, but is that really Africa?
But it's not. But it's not Africa. Whatever is in Black Panther. I mean, I'm glad that they took a Black movie and they shined so much light on it.
Yeah.
You know, they created careers out of it, but it's not an accurate version of history. It's like I mean, of course you'd be like, I'm proud, but there's a seed. You need the seed. The seed is the truth. When you take the seed and you take the truth, and especially with writing, when you write, you are educating. Because whatever I've written in Changamire Dombo will hopefully live way beyond my years. I'll die, and the great grandkids will still pick up this book and be like, let's read about this, let's hear about this. And they'll like, oh, this is interesting to learn about our people. And when you write, you educate. So if you put something in writing, you've brought up if you put something into life that can live beyond you, that can reach places. Changamire Dombo up until this day has reached places that I haven't been able to travel to myself. But it's being read there. So I believe, seeds are being planted. Sorry, do you mind if I put you on hold for 1 second?
Actually, with that being said, I wanted to go on break, and then we just you can go ahead. We will give you just 5 minutes. Those who are actually tuning in, thank you so much for tuning into Tough Love Giggles. This is your host, aka the hype lady, Miss ThandoAmy, holding it down. I love babies. I am actually just looking at Tinashe's baby right now. I am getting distracted, but she is so adorable. I love her. Anyway, For those who are actually tuning in, thank you so much for tuning in. We're actually talking to the author of Changamire Dombo, Mr. Philip Tinashe Gwatidzo. And we're just going to go for a short break before we get back into this intense conversation. And we got a message here, Hans Journey. It is actually quite a fantastic topic. It is fire coming all the way from Qatar. Thank you so much. And shout out to you, Kuda. Thank you. Thank you. And so we're going to take you for a short break. Do stay tuned because we'll be right back. Philip mission, yo. I'm sorry.
I know. You see, that's the thing. Like you grew up knowing
I grew up
Tinashe.
knowing Tinashe.
So, and if you remember, I really did not like being called Philip. I had a thing against the whole name the whole time. And then I get to university. Unfortunately, it happens to be my first name. And then everybody just embraces it. And I was like, you know what? Maybe it's time you grow up. Just take it. Just take it.
Right.
So now
Which is weird though, because same as me, I grew up being known as Amanda, right? And then I come here, everybody's like, no, Thando. At first, I didn't know they were calling me, unfortunately.
Who that?
Exactly, like, are you talking? I just somebody's like, not Thando. I'm like, oh, that's my name, by the way.
Oh shit, yeah.
I love my name though. I love it. I love it. It is so beautiful. But no, that is so
I fully
amazing.
embrace mine too now.
And thank you so much for being a part of Tough Love Giggles today. I see your gorgeous princess joining us here, and I was like, oh man, that is so cute. But we are just about done. And thank you so much though for the moment that you've actually shared so far with us here.
No, thank you guys for having me. I was a very interesting challenge because I don't have a radio voice. Unfortunately, I'm not the gorgeous ThandoAmy. This is not something that I'm built for. So I was like a bit nervous.
Don't make me blush now. You know, Black people don't blush, but if you see me blushing, I'm like, oh my gosh, you did a good job.
You know, you threw me right in there. You know, you made me feel comfortable to talk about this. So yeah, no, thank you. And thanks to the listeners that tuned in. Hopefully they could take something from the interview. And
actually, we got some feedback here saying such a good topic. I got fantastic topic, actually. Fantastic topic, lots of fires, and they're still typing. I guess there's a question coming through because I was like, bring on your question. So I think it's a question coming through. But as we wait for that question, I still have a couple of questions here that I wanted to ask. Are you a reader? Personally? Yes. Her writer, please tell us, are you a reader now?
Now that is interesting. It's interesting that you asked that because everybody that hears, even my colleagues, like work or my acquaintances, when they heard that I wrote a book, they were like, is it a book on culinary? No, it's not.
Because you're in hospitality.
Because I'm a hospitality person, and you know, being a chef, they're like expecting me to come up with a nice cookbook. I'm like, no, this one is a little bit more relevant than a cookbook. I'm sorry, but they're like, how come? Because we never see you reading books. We never see you. It's true. I am not an avid reader in that sense. I've got friends that are readers, so it will be an insult to them to call myself a reader. I have read a couple of books, you know. By force, I have, but with the whole writing thing, it was like a calling. It was just like
I love that.
It's time you wear this blazer and you embrace it and you do what you do with it. And I threw myself at it, and you know when you fall into a place where you're supposed to be, things just happen. They just flow. Like I said earlier, I'm a master procrastinator at certain things. When I got into writing,
let's just rebuke that, you know, because there is power in words. Because after this book, you might end up starting to procrastinate again. So you're not a master procrastinator. You were a master procrastinator, and now we're moving into bigger things because we are supposed to be working on a project together. So do not make me stop pulling you, yet you're the one that's supposed to be pushing me. So please.
I'm sure I'm sure you know by now that that version is gone. You know how much I've been pushing you behind this, so you know that version is gone. The pen is not stopped. Like I was like, I finished the book and it went straight into editing. I had these two amazing souls that I worked with during editing, and I was like, guys, Sunday every Sunday would sit because they also are doing they have day jobs. The one is an English major, the one is a doctor at University of Cape Town, and every Sunday I'll push them, guys, we need to work on this thing. I need this thing to get out now. I want this thing to get to the people. Let's work on this. So it's like, wait, who's this guy? Where is he coming from? Coming
Exactly.
around being pushy and trying to get things done. But I think that's
Mm,
what I mean when you say when you fall into what you're supposed to be doing,
mm.
you just find the energy.
It
You're no
just
longer
falls. Yeah.
fighting it. You just like I mean I'm on my second book right now, but I can't tell you guys what it's about just yet. But like
Well,
it's
that's
like
fine. That's still okay because we're still digesting Changamire Dombo and we're still
I
being
know.
creative a little bit more with it. So
There's a lot of seeds with Changamire Dombo right now. There's a lot of
absolutely.
direction it's about to take. I think the journey's been an amazing journey. It's overwhelming, to be honest, because when I dropped this book, I initially expected um, people from Zimbabwe to be like, "Oh, we know this guy. We want to hear
Mm,
about this guy." But
mm,
then when I dropped it on the 1st of April
mm,
officially, and then I put it out on my pages, on my other social media pages, my groups, my friends' pages, and the feedback I started getting was from people in South Sudan, Eritrea, people as far as Egypt, Morocco. They'd be like, "Oh, this is amazing. This is beautiful. We want to get a copy of this. How do we get one?" Unfortunately, it's currently only available via Amazon, and
mm,
Amazon is not the most friendly place for, especially African region,
mm,
the shipping fees and everything. Hopefully that will change soon,
mm,
but yeah, we have had to find other ways to distribute the book in Africa. But
mm.
like the places I was getting feedback from about the concept of the book is so far and wide. I never imagined I'll be having a conversation with a group of people in South Sudan about something that
Wow.
is based on Zimbabwean history. And it's just like when it falls into place, it doesn't give you the time to procrastinate. It doesn't give you the time to chill. Uh, these guys, they want the book and you
Wow.
wrote it. So if they want it now, you have to deliver it. And I'm
You
very
know
happy
what's
to do that.
funny?
Yeah,
You do your part and God will do the rest.
it
It
falls into
don't
place.
matter. It don't need no Zimbabwean who does not want to understand their history for you to get
It's
to where you to get to your destiny, for you to get to the end of your calling, so to speak. You
I
know what I
know.
mean?
Like
Because at the end
the
of the
journey
day,
will go.
yeah, it's some things that you do not understand. Even the word says, trust the Lord your God with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Like it's so difficult. I am one person who always asks for answers 155%. And the times I even ask God, forgive me, because I'm like, this doesn't
I'm
make
gonna have that.
sense, right?
You made me this way. I
You
got
may,
questions, sir.
right?
I got questions, sir.
I have some questions, sir. I had a question for 4 years that got answered now. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
You
And it's so
fate is
frustrating,
that way.
but at the same time, it's so refreshing because thank
But
God, yeah.
I'm glad you say that. I'm glad you say
Mm,
that because I think in the process of life, we learn we learn how small we are. If you learn anything
mm.
at all, you learn how small as a being you are.
Instead of
Because
learning the
you
opposite.
yeah, the thing is, we want to learn the opposite. We want to attain as much knowledge as possible so we
Mm,
can be regarded from a higher perspective. But
mm,
when I look at a life in that aspect where you've got questions because you want answers, because you want to attain knowledge, but
mm,
not all your answers are coming at the same time. But eventually it gets to you and it finds you, and you find peace with it at the time when it's supposed to. It's like
mm,
if you actually realize how small you are as a person and embrace it, then you find peace
mm,
because I mean you cannot measure up. Not everything's going to happen to you that is meant for you to understand at the same time.
mm.
Sometimes you have to take it in and allow the emotions to sink in, and
Absolutely.
you know an explanation will catch up with you. And if it doesn't, it's okay as well because you're not God. You cannot have
Not with
answers for
me, it's not
everything.
okay. With
It's
me, it's not
you
okay.
you will get there. You will get to a point where you'll find peace with not knowing certain things or not having understanding because you have faith that it will come to you at the right time. You will not always get the answers that you wanted, the time that you wanted, but when it's time, you'll find peace with it. You'll find
I
happiness
am
with it.
a curious creature. It's so bad. I am a curious creature. It's so bad. To the point that even
I
people around me, they're like, oh my gosh, Amanda, we know you're actually about to Google this. I'm like, yeah, I'm about to Google it
we make
because I need to know, right?
we're made that way. That's how we measure our intelligence,
Mhm,
by knowing things. So if you from our system
mhm,
of education, we were considered one of the most educated nations
mhm.
in the continent and in the world for quite a long time. So we embraced this culture of acquiring knowledge, so
Yeah,
we can show that we know what we're talking about, we know what this is about. But I
absolutely.
think I've reached a point where I've acquired as much knowledge as I wish to acquire at this age. There's so much I don't know, but I've acquired more knowledge than I wish to acquire, and it didn't bring me peace. Up until I
Wow.
decided, you know what, I'm going to
Nice.
prioritize my peace over getting knowledge because that gives me internal satisfaction. So yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm still a curious human being. That part of me is
Mm,
never going to change, but
mm,
it's no longer my priority to know
mm,
everything. And
mm.
you know, I'm more ascertained with finding peace, and that's where my search for who we are and why the way we are comes from. Because
Mm,
I, in the process of writing the book and doing my research, I found a lot of peace, and it explains a lot of things that I see myself and other people like me in
mm,
this time and era. So
mm.
yeah, it's it's interesting to see when you put it that way, that I want to acquire knowledge because we're exactly the same. I just
It's a good
fight it
thing we
differently now.
reconnected after so many years. I got something to learn. I'm just saying, you're gonna have to be dealing with this human being after so long.
I'm, I'm I miss this human being because growing up as kids, and then you left for Canada, and then I left for SA varsity. It's like, oh wow, it's like you never left. We just look slightly taller, but we're there's the same
Oh,
kids that are
I
still
wish,
alive.
man. Anyway, before we go, we have a question from a listener right now. This person is a
Oh,
writer. He writes. I know right now he's going to be
oh
laughing.
my
He
goodness.
writes. So help me to read so fast because it's really long. But anyway, so they say they didn't catch the beginning of our conversation. So he
Mhm.
would like to know, Kuti, okay. Kuti, aripo Kuti pana. Kiri, okay, Changamire Dombo was great. He is great indeed. But how do you infuse his greatness into our mainstream schooling syllabus? Because now some schools in Zimbabwe are not teaching Shona to begin with. I will give you an example. I had an option to pick between Shona, Bible knowledge, and literature. I did literature, right? Hence the reason I love writing. I love the arts. I love analyzing and I love knowing. That's where
Or
my
you could have been a literature person in short as well. It's not impossible. But
hey, me, I
okay,
hate people
okay.
talking about Mpanda. I'm sorry. I don't think I would have been able to do that.
You're like,
Mm-mm.
goodbye.
But then again, look at like I'm so into acting and all that jazz, right? Where
Yeah.
Shakespeare gets into play. So
Hmm.
literature,
You're like,
but my guy. Okay, let's finish this
I'm
question.
here now.
So then the question is, they're substituting it for other languages like Mandarin
Hmm.
with an angry face.
A
Eh,
valid point. Very,
emoji
very
angry.
valid.
Okay, so now the question is, how do we get our leaders to see the vision that our leaders, hey, this
Okay.
one I like,
Right.
hey,
I like the question. It's got a valid point, and I want
right.
to allow me to nitpick on the valid points as I answer it because I
Mhm.
think it's a very important and very valid question.
Okay, let me
My
just finish
first.
this one. Let me finish that one very quick, very
Oh, it's
quick,
not
very quick.
finished.
Okay. Mhm.
Okay, okay, okay.
I told
Finish.
you, this person is a writer. I'm telling you now. This person can write. Right.
It's the time. It's the time.
Exactly. All right. So how do we get our leaders to see how do we get our leaders to see this vision that our leaders like the late presidents R.J. Mugabe and M. Gaddafi, who had a
Mhm.
vision for a united Africa,
Pan-Africanism.
right? How do
Yeah.
we continue from where they began?
Okay. Um, I'm going to start with answering the question as a whole.
Mhm.
And
And we have
I
5 minutes, by
did
the way.
what? Oh wow,
I
5 minutes
know.
left. Sorry, that went fast. We need a part two. I
I
feel like
know,
we're
right? We
not
need a
done
part
here.
two. We definitely need a part two.
But But yeah, I'll try and do this as quickly as possible. It was a very valid question, but with very little time, so I'll jump right into it. The first thing
Absolutely.
is that I felt exactly the same way that person felt. I was like, we're so deep in, how do we get out of here? And the first answer was we need to re-educate. We need to unlearn certain things, and we need to start learning things a certain way. And I can't go around
But then
every
how can
single.
we change the syllabus though? Seeing Kutujani, you know
Here's
how right
here's
now the government is still the same. Like it
yeah.
is.
No, here's the
Yeah.
thing. What I want to point out is I decided I'm going to write a book.
Right.
That was
Okay.
my answer to was my first answer to our problem,
Absolutely.
because my
Okay.
book had bigger reach than I could ever have as a person. And in the
Nice.
process, my book has been noticed by H Metrosm, the Herald Zimbabwe, New Zimbabwe is doing an article on it as well. And in the process of this article, the director, I'm not sure if I'm yet even allowed to say this, but the director of curricula, I won't say his name, has
Yeah. So
been in
yeah, that's what
contact
I
and
was
said,
about to
can we
say. So
have your
don't.
book? No, I won't say the name because maybe it's like too soon and I get
Yeah.
having too much fun too early. But you say, can we have a look at the book? Can you get us the book so we can vet it, so we can see if we can get this into curricula? I mean, this is just a guy sitting in Germany and writing a book, and the director of curricula for Zimbabwe has requested the book to see if it is suitable to get into curricula, and that's an answer. Because the moment we start writing our history in a way that we want it to be learned, um, it's I know it feels like a mountain to climb. It feels like it's impossible with everything going on around you. But we have to start from somewhere. People continue to say, if you when we were kids, we used to say, okay, I want to be a doctor when I grow up. I want to be a pilot when I grow up. We anticipated, we planned for the future that way. So you went to school and you studied hard because you wanted to be a doctor later. Uh, the situation we're in now did not determine what we wanted to become. So we need to apply the same thing now as adults to solve the problem for the long term. And it may take 15 years, it may take 20 years. But if we don't start doing something about it now, we may actually never have the situation changing. I mean, I'm just one guy, that one inspiring story, I hope. And if it ever catches on to other 10 people that can do the same, we are creating a syllabus of how we want education to be given to our kids or grandkids and every other melanated person that may have access to this book. I am not a fan of us teaching Mandarin because I don't see, again, it's an adoption of another culture, moving from one culture to the other. And the fact is, if you don't know who you are, you can be whatever they tell you are. And this is how you
Absolutely.
end up adopting all this because you're trying to find a place to fit in where you can be accepted. But the only time you and place you can be accepted, the people we've accepted are the people that embrace who they are and what where they come from. So how about we take that platform and become that? How about we embrace who we are and let the world take us from there? If they accept us, fine. If they don't, we have the capacity as a country, as a continent, to be self-sufficient if we start realizing what we are, what we have, the resources map. If you ever look at the resources map, the most resources, natural resources in the world are situated in Africa. That by itself can eradicate poverty by itself. If we start realizing our worth of what we're sitting on the soil we're sitting on is wealth. I grow my garden. Yeah, I'm sure you can see my garden is full of plants.
Oh yeah.
Um, but we have to buy the sand,
Wow, the land.
the soil, the
Oh
soil to
wow,
put in
the
your flower
soil.
pot to grow. It was a foreign concept to me, but you have to buy your soil. At home, you're
Wow.
sitting on soil that allows you to throw a seed in there and it grows. And that's the wealth that made everybody that was using our lands except us so wealthy. So we have the potential. We're sitting on all our answers. We need to change the mindset. We need to change the mentality. And to do that, we need to write it down. I spoke to so many people. They probably have forgotten what I talked about at that time about our history. But I believe now with what I've written down, everybody has a reference point they can always go back to and be like, what was this story about? Why are these people like this? Oh crap. Okay, so this is the history. This is what it was like. So for us and for people that are not from our race group, they get answers because at the moment, anyone born in 2000, all they ever understand is that okay, so black people in America, they run around with guns, they might rob you, they're dangerous people. But how did they get there? How did they get to America to begin with? Where were they before? What were they doing? Why are they so afraid to go back where they came from? Like, is it not a point where we should be like, okay, if you're melanated and our continent is ready to welcome you back home. That's the work we should be doing, and we should be aiming to get there. We're like, okay, the world is mistreating us. We don't like it. We go back home because at home we'll feel welcome. We'll feel safe. We'll feel at home. That's why it's called home. And
Right.
we're not there yet, and it feels so difficult to embrace the thought. But you know, Cecil John Rhodes did not come to Africa to build Cape to Cairo so he can become wealthy. He did it for generations to come. So uh, if you look at Cecil John Rhodes, if you look at Changamire Dombo, I say these guys because they're two diverse guys in their own way. Cecil John Rhodes had a vision, even though he came down as a colonizer. He wanted to capture all the resources from Africa and bring them to his people, so his people would never suffer. Never mind the racist crap that he did and how many people he impacted in his journey, but this was his vision. He didn't live long. He died when he was 43, 43 or 46. But it brought my mind to a halt when I said, this guy wanted to build Cape to Cairo. I've been to Cape Town, I've been to Cairo, and I think of the journey between Cape to Cairo. In the 1800s, he was thinking about a Cape to Cairo. And we're satisfied with the Lamborghini and the nice house. It's our mentality needs to change. We need to start dreaming of the impact we can do for the future generations. We can't live today for today. Because then we're going to be stuck in the same bubble. So I hope that answers your question, my guy. I know I had so much more to say on that, but our time, unfortunately.
Well, I guess it goes. I know, but no. I guess we'll have another time to hang out again together. But with that, just to wind down though, wind down questions which require a ga to the point type of responses. So what's your best way, seeing Kutizrani, oh my gosh, you have the book and publishing and advertising, marketing, all that jazz, and you have a family and you have, a young one and all that jazz. How do you manage that? How do you juggle that? What is your best way to unwind on such a busy day, trying to do the book, trying to do work? Because I'm guessing you're still in the corporate world partially until this starts. Until this starts giving back real good.
It looks like it's gonna completely take me away from this whole corporate world. Like
hallelujah, I like that.
The reception it's getting, it's massive. I'm flattered.
I love that.
I'm happy about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a juggle. I mean, my weekdays, I am my kids' crash because the kids are not going to crash at the moment. So you wake up at 6, you play with the kid, you try and educate her, you try and entertain her, and then after that you finish and you go to work later in the day. But somehow in this time, because it's been like this since the whole lockdown thing started, somehow in this time I started writing my book in lockdown, and I thought I didn't have time, but I found myself creating time. So you start reallocating your time, restructuring, and it's unbelievable, but it's doable. You can.
How did you do it though? Because I started my book in the lockdown and I was like, wow, this is the moment that the reason why we're in lockdown, But then I couldn't because I'm an extrovert and my energy feeds off of people, right? And me not being around people kind of put me down for a little bit, and it slowed me down on a whole lot of things, my show, the book and everything. So how did you manage?
It's a tough place. Like you say, I'm exactly the same as you, but because of this distraction, I needed to find somewhere to put all this energy. Like I couldn't be where I want to be, doing what I need to do or what I want to do. I was like, what am I going to do with all this energy? I'm like, well, you have a project that you've been working on that you need to put all this energy to. And I threw myself at it. And to be honest, I had writer's block for a month, but I completed writing the book in 4 months. And this is a 60,000 word novel. It was completed in 4 months, and then we started editing. But this was just how much energy that needed to come out. And I picked a project, I blocked out the other nuances, and I directed all the energy towards this, and we did it. And we jumped into editing, which was a whole lot of work because my editors are fun, but they're strict, and they wanted to make sure we bring out the best product for you guys. Right. So they ironed me out. And I mean, I will shout out to Primrose Lima and Isaac Rabaya. They polished the product that you can now buy and read and love and enjoy. Right. They had a major part in that. But that's what I did with that energy, being a father, having to still attend to work, and being restricted to what you can do with your time. I channeled the energy towards this project, and we managed to get it done. With my extroverted energy, I started speaking to my characters, started being part of them. I was in there with them, living with them in this world that did not have a lockdown.
Oh my gosh. Okay, anyway, the good thing is we are alike, and I need your push, and thank you so much for being a part of that in advance.
Thank you very much.
And yeah, and looking forward to our project anyway. So with that being said, the last but not least, for everybody, some of the readers who haven't gotten the book, and I've been playing the commercial here on radio and all that jazz, do you mind sharing your social handles for people to at least follow you for starters, as well as
Certainly.
where they can get the book on Amazon or what to look for and all that jazz, Facebook, Instagram, you name it, wherever you need people to find you?
Awesome stuff. So yeah, starting with the book because it is the most important piece. The book
Absolutely.
is on Amazon at the moment. You just search for Changamire Dombo. I know the first thing that will come out will either be Changamire Dombo by Philip Gwatidzo or
Okay.
Changamire Dombo the song by Bloodline. You can buy
Okay.
both because they're both amazing. They're fantastic pieces. So please go ahead and search for it anywhere on Amazon. But for those guys that are sitting in Africa, we're working on bringing the book to South Africa, to
Mhm.
Zimbabwe right now. We've managed to also get some few copies across to the guys in Ethiopia and in South Sudan that made requests for the book. So we will make it happen if needs be. We created a page where you can come, inquire, make a follow for. It's called Changamire Dombo's Diplomatic Passport on Facebook. It
Okay.
also allows you to track down exactly where, for those that want to publish their pictures with their book, exactly where the book is landing, who's buying the book. You know, people come with their selfie with their book. We publish it there and we say where they're located. But yeah, there's an inquiry page there. There's a link there that also sends you back to Amazon. There's a WhatsApp button there, so you can always write to us. But all the inquiries right now regarding the book, you can use the page. For my personal handles on Instagram, it's Tinashe, it's Nancy Alpha Sierra Hotel Echo ZW. Nashe
You're
ZW
amazing. You
for
are
Zimbabwe.
amazing. I just see
And
that one coming.
and Facebook is Philip Nache. Yeah, or you can check me out on Amy Tander's page. You'll find I follow it, or she follows me. We following each other. You can always find me there. But it's very simple. And I'm happy to answer all
Absolutely.
questions, any and all questions for those people that want to inquire or that want to purchase the book, or for those that are within Europe or within Germany or close by that want to get signed copies. We are doing signed copies because we can always post it. If you're out there and you want a signed copy, be prepared to pay your own postage fee. We'll get the book to you.
It's fine. It's fine. Actually, you know, your hype lady here. So hold on. You need to stay tuned because I have
Mhm.
more to say. But anyway, actually, it is worth the payment. It is worth the shipping. It is worth everything that you may want to do with it, really, to be honest, because it is an easy read for starters. That's one thing I am actually going to emphasize to people. And I am so proud of you in regards to making it an easy literature, because I am a reader and I hate with a passion reading a book with a dictionary
With the dictionary next
where
to
I
you.
need to be Googling every time. And I'm like, really? Like, okay. And then I try and translate in Shona to make sense of the statement. And then I'm like, But Changamire
Mm.
Dombo, on the other hand, is not like that. Changamire Dombo has like easy literature to go by. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. I like it. And it makes you
Thank
go through it quite easy and real quick, so to speak, right? So we are
you.
so proud of you and thank you so much for that. And we look forward to more of what you got planned, your second book, and some of the adventures that are yet to come in regards to Changamire Dombo for starters.
No, thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. And thanks to everybody that was able to tune in and listen to what we had to say. We hope, if not learned something, we at least managed to keep you entertained and keep you happy on
Hallelujah.
this Friday evening or Saturday morning, wherever you are. Yeah, and I look forward to hearing from people that are interested in the book or people that are
Absolutely.
going to follow the page to keep in touch with all the other stuff that's about to come. There's a lot coming. I can tell you, I can feel the fire, and I'm ready to deliver this because it's meant for you guys. It's not for me. Otherwise, I
Right.
would just keep it in my head. So yeah, I'm
Right.
looking forward. I'm excited. Hopefully soon you will bring this Changamire Dombo to the screen and you get to watch it and enjoy it there.
Uh, we're not going to let the Americans write this one this time. I'm just saying.
It's
But
fine. It's
anyway, I am just
thank
saying.
goodness.
Anyway, thank you so much for your time, Tinashe. And please do thank your wife and your baby girl for this moment that you got to hang out and chill with us right here on After Five Radio. And even, engaging with our listeners, having some people in Qatar having to be a part of, chiming in with their questions as well. And we just thank
It's
you for
amazing.
waking up and having some coffee just to be.
By the way, about that, that's how important you guys are to me. Because Saturday, you will never find me up at 7. But you guys did it. Well, thank you. And I'm proud of you guys. You managed to get me up before my baby this time around. She was like, what? I thought, what are you doing up? I'm like, yeah, people want to speak. So, but no, thank you
Right.
guys for having me. Thank you.
Oh no, that's amazing. I will definitely, well, we're always chatting anyway. We'll catch up
Yeah,
shortly after this. And thank you
definitely.
so much for being with us.
No worries at all.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Mwah.
Okay,